Welcome back to the Exit Liquidity podcast with DeFi Daddy and myself, DeFi Senpai. How are things looking?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got a banger of an episode. Today is February 6th, and my oh my, do we have some alpha to share. The markets might be down, but the alpha is up. Senpai, what do you think about the current market? How are you feeling? Bullish, bearish? What's the vibe?
Today was a bit weird because, Bitcoin was down. It's at like 96K right now off of relatively little to no news, which is never a great sign. I think that the market's just kind of finding its place, adjusting to President Trump being in office and his kind of chaotic behavior at times, unpredictability. There are some reasons to be bullish as well, though, and we'll dive into those reasons later.
Yeah, I think this is really the time of the cycle where Bitcoin maxis can put on their pit vipers and laugh at all the normies who are over leveraged on the altcoins, because Bitcoin's trading down / sideways while your favorite bags are nuking 10, 15, 20% or more. I'm not trying to victory dance here, but this is something that we've kind of talked about on this podcast over and over and over again, is how Bitcoin is where the action is, it's where the liquidity has been, it's where the capital inflow probably will continue, and retail continues to try and outperform it with no success.
Yeah, we've discussed this before about how the retail is broke theory, and that a lot of the money that is driving this crypto bull right now is coming from institutions. And if you look at, I saw this funny tweet the other day about every time Bitcoin's past 100K, and it shows the different prices of Ethereum. The first time, Ethereum was at 4K. The second time, it was at like 3,300. And then the sixth time, Ethereum's now at 2,800. And you can just see all the altcoins just slowly bleeding out, and that money just driving into Bitcoin. Its dominance is now up at 60%, and it seems like that pattern is going to continue.
Yeah, on February 2nd, when there was a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt about the trade wars, the tariffs, lots of news flying around, Bitcoin dominance peaked at 64.5%. And so I really do think we're going to fill that wick to the upside, because in lack of some major fundamental catalyst, we're probably going to have more of the same for at least a couple weeks, where Bitcoin trades sideways, waiting for the next move, but there's no real reason for those altcoins to catch a bid, especially when everyone could just, hey, let's go chill in Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's only 11 or 12% away from its all-time high. Can you say the same about your favorite altcoins?
Yeah. Looking at Bitcoin's chart, you really wouldn't know the amount of pain that everyone is going through, and also just the sentiment of the market. You go onto Twitter, and people are genuinely think that this cycle is over. But you look at Bitcoin's chart, and only 5-6% away from all-time highs.
Yeah, if this cycle is over, I promise you, everyone is going to get way more poor. Because if Bitcoin's only 12% away from an all-time high and the cycle is over, ladies and gentlemen, if Bitcoin falls further, alts are cooked. They're pan-fried, they're deep-fried, they're sent out to dinner. Because, ETH is down, I think, 45% away from its all-time high.
Mm-hmm.
Sol is down 35% away from its all-time high. But if you look on-chain especially, most projects are down 60, 70, 80, 90% away from all-time high. There has been an absolute on-chain massacre. And it all kind of started after one precarious event on January 17th when Donald Trump released his meme coin that really, for lack of a better word, took the world by storm.
Yeah. It was in the moments right after Trump launched his meme coin. It was just shock and disbelief. A lot of people, I was on X, just didn't believe that it was real. They thought he was hacked. And you could see the on-chain trades coming in and just millions of dollars pouring into Trump coin. At the same time, all of these meme coins and basically every altcoin was just getting destroyed. People were cashing out of their positions to FOMO into the presidential meme coin.
It was absolutely insane, and I think could be succinctly described as on-chain terrorism. Everyone was selling everything they owned to acquire the Donald Trump meme coin, and like you said, for a very long time, no one knew if it was real.
Mm-hmm.
There is a very real possibility that he could have been hacked, that this wasn't legit. But there was, I guess, some nuance there. For example, Moonshot.
Yeah.
Moonshot instantly listed the coin and was playing a major role in its launch. So did Jupiter and Meteora.
Yeah.
So it very much had a well-defined, I guess, on-ramp into the world of crypto, because on Donald Trump's website, it literally said, buy with Moonshot.
Yes, but you can buy any meme coin that's listed on like Radium in Moonshot. So like because those are like decentralized platforms. Moonshot like a little bit. It just means that you can buy just any token via Apple Pay. But I do find it very sus that the Jupe team, Meteor team were all in on this, and they kind of paraded around like 24 hours later on Twitter, being like, "What an excellent launch!" When people were scrambling in the first couple hours, and you can look on chain, you can see these huge $1 million buys moments after this token was dropped, and they cash out like literally hundreds of millions. Some of these people.
Yeah, absolutely insane. I think this will probably go down as one of the most lucrative opportunities in the world of crypto, not only because it went so high in value, but because the liquidity was so thick.
Yeah.
Like in no other opportunity can you swing around this kind of size and extract that much liquidity, because within hours, listed on KuCoin, listed on Bybit, listed it got listed on Coinbase, Robinhood, Binance, everywhere it was getting listed. And obviously the insiders ate, but this was a very asymmetric opportunity where it's like the president just made a meme coin. It's got over $1 billion in liquidity, and you can see people just swinging around crazy numbers.
Yeah, I believe it ran up to like a $16 billion market cap within 48 hours.
Yeah, I think it peaked at around 80 billion FTV.
Yeah.
And it was, if I'm not mistaken, the 20th largest cryptocurrency in the first 24 hours of launch.
That's shocking. Yeah, they did kind of speed run the whole like life cycle of a meme coin though, because the absolute pinnacle of a meme coin is like getting listed on Coinbase and Binance, and because they experienced that like instantly, it was like, all right, what's next?
Yeah. The other thing is that like there's going to have to be more fundamental, let's call it catalysts for this project, because Donald Trump still has 80% of that token himself, right? 20% in circulation, 80% to be vested to Donald Trump's subsidiary in the Cayman Islands. So there's a lot of devious speculations going on, and I got one of them is that there's going to be a Bitcoin strategic reserve as described in Nashville when we were there.
Yeah.
But there's also some speculation about an American crypto reserve.
Yeah,
including
the crypto stockpile
built in America, right? And so one of the concepts is that stuff like Ripple or Solana could be included in that because they are American-made cryptos. In theory, there's been some more speculation that these specific digital assets might be pardoned from capital gains.
Yes. Yeah.
Imagine if Trump put his own meme coin in the American crypto reserve, right?
Yeah.
It's made in America. It's his own project, so the grift would be unbelievable. Like that
Yeah.
is the pinnacle of grift. Make a meme coin included in a government reserve. And number 3, that would just prove the simulation is real. To me, that's what it really means, right? How much more ridiculous can this financial context get before we just give up and call it a simulation?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of speculation that the Trump coin will be included in this national crypto stockpile. If it isn't, then it's going to absolutely nuke.
Yeah, right?
That has been a narrative I've seen on Twitter. Speaking of XRP, yeah, Brad Garlinghouse recently, or has been rumored to be tapped to be like a consultant for the White House crypto sector.
Yeah, I think that, what is it called? The crypto committee?
Yeah.
I think people were expecting that crypto committee, like day 2 in office, just to start rolling out everything. But David Sachs, the crypto czar, as he's being called, he had a press conference the other day, and it was just political yapping. Nothing of sustenance was said. And I think that might be part of the reason why the markets are a little bit more quiet, a little bit less engaging, is because it's coming to the realization that this rollout of integrating crypto into American legislation is very well going to take longer than most people maybe expected or they want.
Totally. And you mentioned this in the last podcast as well, that so much was already baked in that the inauguration day was going to be like a sell the news event unless we get like a day one like national Bitcoin reserve, which we did not. They kind of just said that, yeah, we're going to explore these future opportunities, but it's going to take a while for this stuff to roll out.
Yeah, and I think the crypto market in general, I think, has become way more efficient at pricing in these kinds of fundamental factors. And so that'd be my best guess as to why the markets are in a little bit of a lull and waiting for the next catalyst as well. Trump's in office, crypto committee is more or less formed, and now we're waiting.
Yeah.
What's the next step? Is it the American Strategic Reserve? Is it tax exemptions for American cryptos? I don't know, but what you said earlier is very true. Trump is a wild card.
Hmm.
We don't know what the next move is, right? He bullied Canada, China, and Mexico into some egregious tariffs, and then the next day next 3 days they were repealed and delayed 30 days because they had come to a miraculous deal.
Yeah.
So it's hard to predict what the next move is going to be, but it doesn't really shake my bias in terms of I'm bullish for Q1 and probably the first half of Q2.
Absolutely. Same here. I saw like a really interesting chart the other day. And I'll show it to you guys in the video edition. But it's the chart of the DXY, which is the dollar strength index, and it shows what happened in 2017 when Trump first took office, and then it shows where it is today. And right now, the DXY is extremely strong. The US dollar is, it's because interest rates are still up. And in 2017, it was also pretty high. But then in 2017, you know, Donald Trump was very vocal about wanting to reduce the dollar's strength. He said that it makes it more difficult to do trade. And so they call it the Donald Trump slump. And over the course of 2017, you can see the DXY lose value, but then the S&P and the Nasdaq both had 20% gains that year. So my speculation is that, yeah, there's a lot of like unpredictability going on right now. That interest rates will start to fall this year, but also like Trump's kind of chaotic behavior, these countries might feel less inclined to be holding on to US dollars and be less reliant on the US as a source of like importing stuff because of these new tariffs that are going to come in. So I think that we will see the US dollar kind of slide off a bit, but it could result in, a return to risk assets.
I agree. There's a pretty reliable correlation, and I guess inverse correlation is the right word, between risk on assets and the DXY. Stocks trend to not do very well when the DXY is in an uptrend, and stocks tend to do really well when it's in a downtrend. So, another devious speculation would be he's pumping the dollar. The dollar is at multi decade highs, the Canadian dollar is at multi decade lows. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And I think he is going to negotiate a lot of very firm and pointed trade deals with countries like Canada, like China, like Mexico, under threat of tariffs, renegotiate these trade deals with the dollar at a premium. And then once the trade deals are finalized, remove the tariffs, the threat of tariffs, cut interest rates, weaken the dollar, print money, send risk assets higher. I think there's a grandiose series of events, and it all starts with having countries locked into trade deals at a very high USD value.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, Trump is originally a real estate developer, so he knows better than anyone the effects that importing inflation via tariffs is going to have on the economy. They won't be able to lower interest rates, which is something he talks about a ton, in the media. He wants interest rates to go down. So yeah, like I'm really not sure how serious he is about these tariffs or if it's just a way to get what he wants, right?
I agree. I think it's very much a stepping stone to a larger play
Mm-hmm.
because he is putting immense pressure on Jerome Powell to cut rates faster than JPOW wants.
Yeah.
Right now, using the CME futures tool, the aggregated probability, lots of buzzwords there, is that by December 2025, the interest rate in the US will be 50 basis points lower than it is now. So 2 cuts of 25 by December. Donald Trump, I think, wants to cut a lot faster than that.
Oh, I'm sure he does. Yeah.
So is Jerome Powell at the Federal Reserve going to bend the knee? Are they going to cook the books to say inflation is lower than it is? It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because I think the market is very much waiting for that return to QT or the return from QT to QE, quantitative tightening, quantitative easing, because that is really what risk markets love. They love cheap debt. They love accessible capital. And realistically, it's just a matter of, are we going to have that soft landing? Is there going to be a recession? Are we going to buy our way out of it? I think this is a very pivotal moment to not only understand macroeconomics, but kind of observe what's happening.
Yeah.
Another thing that we brushed over briefly, we talked about Donald Trump, but the follow-up story to that was Melania, the second meme coin that came out on January 20th, I believe. All he had to do was talk to one crypto native person, and they would say, don't do a second project. But what did they do? They made a second project. Melania released. I was on an airplane at the time, so I missed it on my way to Hawaii. I landed and I was like, what is happening? Solana is down, Melania is up. The trenches are in shambles. It was quite a sight to see, because then everyone was like, okay, well, Barron Trump's next, Eric
Yeah,
Trump's
yeah,
after that. Do they have a dog? Do they have a cat? What's the entire
yeah,
family tree?
yeah. Immediately, like the entirety of crypto Twitter like kind of turned on it because like this is a bad idea, and they'd already invested so much at Trump. It's such like a ridiculous market cap that obviously there's something new and shiny. People are going to sell off their Trump tokens. The Trump token literally nuked like
Yeah.
50% within 1 hour of the Melania token launch.
It went from like $56 to $28 within the time frame of Melania's first hour launching. And it was like, okay, so we're just running back this on-chain terrorism. Sell everything you have to buy Melania and hope you're not the last one out the door.
Yeah, yeah, and at the back of everyone's mind is also like, you're right. Like, what comes next? Is there Ivanka? Is there a Barron Trump token? And also something else really interesting happened during that time. The Solana network got severely congested, which didn't happen during the Trump launch, but did happen during the Melania launch.
Yeah, I think there's some nuance there. The husband launched a project without breaking it, but the wife broke it when she launched it. Is there a lesson there? I'll let you decide. But there was definitely some major congestion on the Solana network. It was basically inoperable for an extended period of time. Couldn't get transaction through. Fees were incredibly high, and it was an example of Solana failing in recent history.
Yeah, yeah, it was a pretty important stress test because I saw a tweet that as of today, actually, there hasn't been an outage in Solana for 1 year. So kind of interesting. The network didn't fail, but the fees got high enough that it became kind of inoperable for the average person.
Yeah, exactly. It was basically like cheap ETH fees
Yeah,
for an extended period of time. But it was really interesting to see this kind of behavior emerge on chain, because it reinforces this idea that crime is now legal.
yeah.
That is definitely a pretty compelling narrative, that you're seeing people engage with really behaviors that would have been deemed really risky before,
Mm-hmm.
right? The
Well,
founder of Venmo released Jelly Jelly. Vine came out. McAfee's, I guess, widow released an AI project inspired
Yeah.
by John McAfee.
brought it back to life for a second.
Yeah, that Twitter post was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah,
The announcement of it, rather. And so it kind of reinforces this, I will call it, dangerous narrative that crime is now legal, because it's just going to push people further and further down the risk curve into what can they do to outperform it. Like Enron. Did you buy Enron?
I did actually. Did not go well.
No, so
Yeah.
someone bought, I don't know if they bought the disheveled corporation of Enron or the intellectual property that exists
Yeah.
of Enron. They did go through the right motions to properly own the Enron copyright.
I am surprised for how much they bought it for. They got it for something like $275.
Yeah.
I'm like, who would sell the IP for that? That's gotta be worth like $1 million at least.
Right? So
Yeah.
Enron ballooned up to like a $600 million market cap, and it's already fallen like 80% down to $100 million. And I understand this stuff is super entertaining for people to observe and participate in, but at the end of the day, it's a pretty bad look.
It is. Yeah. It's like some of the worst side of crypto, right? It's like literally just money extraction.
Yes, it's value extraction. And like, I saw another tweet that 100% of people who bought Trump on Coinbase or Robinhood are at a loss.
Wow. I can believe it though.
If they bought it within the first hour of launch, they're all at a loss.
Yeah, it was already at like $50 and now it's down to like 30 or 20.
Right? And it's just, I understand we need retail, but we got to treat them a little bit better. Like, we're onboarding these people, man. Future of finance, come hang out on chain. And then their bags are down substantially, and they're like, yo, this crypto shit's a scam.
We've also like on this podcast like torched Hawk Tua and Jason Derulo, and now it like begs the question is like, were those people justified in the end? Because what Trump has done is essentially the same thing, but over a longer time frame, because he's vesting 80% of those tokens, which are just going to go to his company and his early investors, who some people think, yeah, that those tokens aren't going to get dumped on your heads. But I'm like, I don't know. You look at his previous projects, I think I know exactly what's going to happen. In 60 days, when those tokens vest, like they're going to start taking profits.
I agree. It's like, I almost want to say Haley Welsh, Hawk Tua Girl, and Jason Derulo and Iggy Azalea, they ran the crime season narrative. They they took legal risk. They might not face repercussions, but they front ran the crime season that
Yeah.
we're in now. And we say crime season because it is crime season under the previous SEC, but they recently announced that they're scaling back the crypto enforcement division. Paul Atkins, I believe, is his name, is the new commissioner of the SEC. So we are seeing steps in the right direction for, let's call it, bureaucratic legislation. But that doesn't mean that we can just absolutely exploit every newcomer who decides to venture on chain, because that's not going to advance the industry that much further.
It was pretty funny seeing all the like bring them back memes
Yeah.
for the
The memes in the last
Gary
month have been
Gensler.
absolutely incredible. Where it's like, yo, Gary, do you want to come back, man? Like, we got this cool crypto thing. Maybe you could enforce a few rules so I stop getting rug pulled.
Didn't think it would happen that fast.
Right? Oh, how tides change. Another topic that we did want to mention briefly is that DeepSeek,
Yeah.
new AI model coming out of China. They lied about development costs to probably make OpenAI jealous. They said it costed like $6 million to make. You could probably change million to a billion, and that might not still be accurate. The other thing is, a lot of people were concerned because they made this very advanced AI model. It's cheaper to access, and it's pretty lightweight to use. It's open source, and in theory, China should have access to 0 NVIDIA products. How did they make this if they didn't have access? Well, it turns out they had access to 50,000 H100s, which is NVIDIA's like flagship chip for AI parallel processing. And it was like, well, what semi-truck did those fall off the back of? How do you have access to this? Because China's saying $6 million development cost, it's a cheaper model, it's a better model, but we don't have access to NVIDIA chips, don't worry.
Yeah, they're lying, but there were some like cool innovations with it, like how they're not using it's like Coda, is that the language that NVIDIA specifically created to use, like they're bypassing it, going straight to like the threads, which was like a crazy way to like save energy. And so it's like these the new model is like so efficient. Yeah.
But there has already been an exploit with DeepSeek R1. I honestly, another devious speculation is that OpenAI probably paid for people to start poking around. But
I wouldn't bet against that.
There was a public database that was infiltrated related to DeepSeek data storage, and in this public database, they found very sensitive information that users had been submitting to DeepSeek, private keys for API access, and a lot of other information that should not be accessible. There was over 1 million lines of logs extracted from this company. And it doesn't paint the best look for DeepSeek R1 as they're trying to gain market share from, the American golden child, OpenAI.
Yeah. OpenAI was also like down just yesterday. So, you got to wonder if those two events are connected.
Right. We're talking about on-chain terrorism, but maybe this is realistically just cyber warfare between the U.S. government and the CCP trying to poke holes in each other's product.
Yeah. It should also be mentioned that DeepSeek was funded by a Chinese hedge fund. So without a doubt, these guys were probably shorting the shit out of NVIDIA and all these other NASDAQ-listed companies when they decided to open source this super advanced AI.
Right? There's definitely some abstract value extraction mechanisms when you're suddenly coming out of the blue and announcing these products. But OpenAI did have downtime. Like you said, their product was completely inoperable. All of their versions of GPT were not accessible. And this created quite the problem in the crypto markets, specifically because there is a lot of agentic projects, AI agents and AI agent infrastructure, that rely heavily on the OpenAI API. And so with this GPT downtime, it basically made a very large subsection of crypto projects completely unusable, untenable, and really highlighted the kind of centralized dependency that they're exhibiting on OpenAI. Last thing I'll kind of add into this AI yapping is about DeepSeek and OpenAI, and kind of detailing why DeepSeek had a lot of hype and AI projects nuked when R1 came out. Because they're like, well, all these existing projects are using OpenAI, and now R1 is out. But R1 is open source; it's cheaper to use. If anything, it pushes the industry further, because now these AI projects that are coming out, they have multiple options.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could use Anthropic, you could use Cloud, whatever. But OpenAI was kind of the default one for people to work with, but now they have R1 as a tool in their toolkit. And I think there was really just a fundamental misunderstanding of how that catalyst could affect AI crypto.
Yeah, it was like specifically bearish to the AI in like stock industry, I guess, or how would you call it?
Yeah, I would agree. Like the AI equities,
Yeah,
like
the AI.
Microsoft, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Microsoft, major investor in OpenAI,
Hmm.
that's their golden child. OpenAI, new competitor, Microsoft down.
Hmm.
Nvidia, okay, new Chinese company, made an advanced AI model. They didn't allegedly have access to Nvidia
Hmm.
products. Nvidia down, Huawei up.
Yeah.
Like the series of events is very logical in the equities market. Crypto probably followed because it was a bad day for the crypto market in general. But the people who say R1 is bearish for AI cryptos, I think very much don't see the forest from the trees.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, it's the equity boom in AI was definitely built around the need for resources, and that's where we're really seeing those companies kind of yeah, like falter a bit because all of a sudden there's like less reliance. Like, oh, maybe we don't need these super advanced. I mean, that was a bit of a lie, but that was the thought process that everyone was kind of going through. Um,
I agree. One last piece of I got two more things to say. I'm yapping, but so allegedly China doesn't have access to Nvidia products, and their primary chip provider is Huawei.
mm,
And so it's always been believed that China is 2, 3, 4 years behind American AI developers because they don't have access to the same chips.
yeah.
If we say the H100 is an S plus alternative, Huawei is only capable of making A tier chips. And so it was kind of this moat that the American equity market thought existed based off the NVIDIA and OpenAI relationship that was dissolved when R1 came out because it was like, well, we have this moat. They're not meant to be using chips, but they came out with a better product, so China must be better at AI. Little did we know they actually had H100s, and it
Mm,
became alleviated. The other thing regarding the overall language model efficiency is that OpenAI has a really innovative specific toolkit called strict tooling.
mm,
Means you can give an AI metaphorically a shovel and it knows how to use the shovel, what the shovel is capable of. If you give you and you can't do that with R1. So what strict tooling actually means is you are giving it tools that it knows inside out what it's used for and how to use it. So this is really useful for corporations
yeah.
because you could basically give it a lawyer skill set and it's
Mm,
not going to make bullshit up to try and pretend to be a lawyer. It's like, okay, I'll use the contract toolkit.
yeah.
And that's what it does. But other models, specifically R1, it'll just make up that logical thought process from start to finish and it's susceptible to hallucinations.
Yeah.
If AIs don't know something, they will make it up pretty much without a doubt every time. And so this has kind of implications talking about DeFi because we're both
Mm,
passionate about Hey Anon.
yeah.
Hey Anon is using OpenAI's models of strict tooling. So for example, if you were to ask an AI based on strict tooling, bridge me from ETH to base, the toolkit that would be provided would be dbridge or Stargate or something like that. The AI doesn't have to explore the internet and figure out how to move from point A to point B. It's like, oh, they want a bridge. I have the bridge toolkit. We're good. If that was in the context of DeepSeek R1, it would have to theorize how to get from point A to point B. It would have to learn how to interact with that smart contract, and it would be susceptible to mistakes.
Mm.
And so it's that kind of strict tooling that OpenAI has cornered the market in that makes it really ambitious, both for DeFi, but also in the corporate standpoint, because there's a lot less room for AI hallucinations.
That is very interesting. Did not
Super
know
cool
that.
stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The other thing that kind of, I mean, we talked about this, but post DeepSeek R1,
Hmm.
AI crypto suffered,
They did. They got absolutely smacked.
nuked. Like AI
Yeah.
agents crushed, AI agent infrastructure demolished. And so there's kind of an interesting paradigm here where people, the tech is really cool, it's really fascinating, but the price action is just so awful. It makes you
Hmm.
wonder about the longevity of these projects.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we mentioned before just how uh, there's a lot of AI slop out there where it's just like reply bots and you get it was cool and novel to start, but after a while, it was like these guys aren't adding any value. And so the next natural step in AI is like in AI crypto at least, it, like it actually has to have some sort of utility, and that's where we see the opportunity for DEF AI, which is a combination between decentralized finance, doing things like transactions, adding liquidity, and all sorts of trades, but then powered by AI as a layer of abstraction, which basically just means that any average noob user could come in and be able to do something and have these safety tools, like the strict tooling you're talking about. So they'd be able to make transactions, buy the right contract without, getting phished or, potentially getting the wrong contract or something like that. Because they're talking to like the same way you talk to like ChatGPT, you just talk to like an AI agent and it would do these things for you without having to go through all the nonsense of like finding different websites and make sure you got the right contract and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that personalized AI agent as a service
Mm-hmm.
is very powerful, not only for ease of access, because, like you said, abstraction really is a key narrative for
Yeah.
2025 and beyond. How do we make this technology more accessible? How do we abstract the pain of crypto away so people can engage in the ecosystem but not have to endure the pain of,
Mm-hmm.
okay, bridge from here to here, make sure you have enough gas, and then you're going to buy this token, but don't hit the max button. Hit max and round down to the next decimal.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things are intensely prohibitive to the advancement of the industry. And I think AI has a lot of potential not only to kind of optimize that interaction, but to make it possible to onboard people. Because if I want my friends to buy a meme coin, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell them just come over, I'll press the buttons, we'll get some food, and it's chill. But if I can tell them to download an app or visit a web page or a Telegram bot, hey man, type this in and you're fine.
Mm.
That is immensely value generative at its core.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, you just like, hey, here's the prompt. You send it to them, and
Yeah,
it's like all of a sudden they're
exactly.
doing transactions or adding liquidity. It'd be funny.
So I think there's a battle going on between, let's call it, value extracting AI cryptos and
Mhm.
value generating cryptos.
Yeah.
And I think during, I mean, for more, or for lack of a better word, the tough times that we're in right now, we're kind of seeing the separation between the two.
Hmm.
One last thing that I kind of want to add on in this segment is that a lot of the projects that launched on Pump.Fun and are agentic projects, so a couple that come to mind, AI16Z, Zeribro, etc., I have a very strong suspicion that these people are running out of money very quickly.
Zombie companies.
Zombie companies, right? So they don't have many revenue drivers. That alone is a problem. They have very high costs, right? Developers, super expensive. AI developers, even more expensive. AI crypto developers, right? The premium just gets higher and higher because it's a more specific skill set. They have high costs from the computing perspective, right? They need to pay decentralized GPU providers, they need to pay AWS. And by and large, if you look on chain, the team was selling way too early. And I'm not just talking about
Interesting.
AI16Z, I'm talking about other projects as well, where the team was selling majority of their tokens below a $300 and $400 million market cap. And so that puts them in a very vulnerable position. They don't have tokens to fundraise with, right, to sell to venture
Hmm.
capitalists. They don't have that many tokens to fund their own business. So what's the next move here? It kind of makes me wonder about the longevity of the AI cryptos that launched on Pump.Fun, and maybe they didn't exhibit that strong preference for supply control that we see with a lot of meme coins.
Yeah, that is really interesting. And one of the downfalls of Pump Fund is that you basically have to snipe your own supply at the very start, and then like hold those tokens, and that's going to be your main supply for just kind of because you can't really do any more future raises unless you already have those tokens, right?
Right? Because if you tell a venture capital company, hey, we're an AI development project, we have a token already, do you want to buy our equity? No. They're just gonna tell you to fuck off. It's
Yeah,
like, no, we want the token. And it's like, well, we don't have any to sell ya.
yeah. Unless you're like, okay, we'll give it to you at like 40% of like the current market value, in which case they'll just buy it and then just nuke it.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of pigeonholed into this lose-lose situation
uh,
where, okay, we don't have enough tokens to sustain our business. Okay, we don't have enough tokens to sell to venture capitalists. How are we going to keep moving forward?
yeah,
The other thing is like, okay, you launch on Pump.Fun, you bundle the transactions, you get 70% of your supply. Well, now you're going to get fudded on Twitter,
it's true.
right?
Yeah.
Everyone looks at bubble maps or whatever equivalent service you look at. Everyone knows what the concept of bundling and supply control is. So, like, you're kind of just not setting yourself up for success in the current context. And I think that's why a lot of these AI projects have had particularly bad price action, because they just have to keep selling.
I see. Yeah. Do you think that there will be like a return, a renaissance for these some of these AI chatbots, or do you think market's going to move on and just like with most meme coins, something new and shiny pops up and the money just kind of migrates to the new stuff?
I feel like if you're talking about the blue chip infrastructure projects, for example, Virtual is on Base or
Mm-hmm.
AI16Z on Solana, those have enough mindshare, familiarity, community that they'll probably end up doing well long term. But if you're looking at the smaller agents that may have not had the best business development plan, aren't already on exchanges, don't
Mm.
have that much supply control, I think it's a pretty bleak future because there's just going to be shinier objects.
Yep.
I honestly think when pump fun, like eventually it's going to end. Eventually the pump fun meta is going to end. I think we're going to see an ICO season again,
Uh-huh.
or at least some kind of pre-sale mechanism.
Yeah, I wonder if pump fun's gonna end, or something will just replace it because people will never stop wanting to gamble and get that dopamine hit of like buying a new coin and getting like a 10x off like a 5K market cap. It's like something else has to replace it so people can get that feeling.
Yeah, you're right. It's just like a dopamine flywheel. I tweeted this the other day and I was like, man, crypto is just an online casino. Can you tell me the last time you read a white paper?
It's been a long time. Last cycle probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, did it have equations in it?
No. It was just a mission statement.
Yeah, exactly. So like I asked my community the same thing. I'm like, man, when's the last time y'all read a white paper, let alone one with equations? Or did you just buy it because it had a funny ticker and maybe a cute animal? The industry has devolved into the purest form of gambling possible, where it's not about the tech, it's not about the promise of delivery, it's about how easy is it, will it catch on? Is the dev team talented? Can they get on exchanges quickly? It's more about the promise of what it will be rather than what it wants to be,
Mm,
so to speak.
mm.
I don't know. Obviously, I'm a bit fatalistic on the duality between Bitcoin and crypto, but there has been a serious change across the industry towards the quick hit dopamine AI meme coin supercycle.
Yeah, there has been. I really hope we do get a return back to utility because there have been some, super interesting projects that are continuing to build, but just have not got the return on their market cap that you would expect relative to previous cycles. And back in 2017, you could just like, you know, throw everything at the kitchen sink at the wall. Is that what's the term?
Regardless, I totally agree. You could just
Yeah,
go to CoinMarketCap, put money on the top 100, and you'd come back significantly richer the next day. But now in 2025, there is almost 37 million different projects.
yeah,
There is on average 10,000 a day coming out of Pump.Fun alone.
yes.
That dilutes capital, that dilutes attention, and I think that greatly reduces the chance that we have like a full-fledged across the board alt season.
Yeah, that is such a good point. I saw Blockchain Boy do a video on this of just like the sheer amount of new tokens that are launching daily. It's like there's literally not enough equity to like pump all these things, and that's why I feel like meme coin season like yeah probably will die in the end just at some point, or at least piling into these tokens that have already ran up to like 100 million market caps. Just kind of like a losing proposition there because like the equity it would take to get it from like 100 mil to like a billion is so big that
Right?
yeah.
Or even a project launched today, Barrett Chain.
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
I think it peaked at like $14 and it's at like $5 now.
Oh, it's only gonna go down.
Yeah, it's only going to go down. It's like, man,
Yeah.
okay, so we got another EVM chain with cool tech, lackluster TVL, bad developer incentives, and it's got a very high ratio between its circulating market cap and its FDV.
Yeah.
Wow, we needed another one of those.
There's a lot of venture capital money and early investors. Like I saw the distribution. This is one of those things where it's like if you like farmed the airdrop, like congrats, but you want to sell that and just run.
Right?
Because like the last thing we need is another ETH L2 in when ETH is already hurting as it is.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so Barrett Chain has joined the ranks of Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, Say, Sui, Métis, Kava, Arbitrum, Optimism,
Mhm.
Matic, Sonic,
There's more coming.
right? And there is more coming down the pipeline. It's like, man, how many EVM chains do we really need, chat? Because it is never ending. And
Mhm.
they have nothing to separate the true, like, value proposition of them. It's like, oh, anything on Ethereum can come to us. Okay, well, Ethereum's dead. Nobody's building on it, but it could still come to us.
Yeah.
It's very much like it's like that meme where I'm tired, boss.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
That's a good analogy.
We've gone too far down the rabbit hole, man. Just stop releasing L2s and EVM compatible chains, please. I'd rather just have more AI bullshit thrown at me with catchy buzzwords.
Do we have any alpha for the exit liquidity crowd? DeFi Daddy, do you still think we can hit all-time highs in Q1?
I'm thinking, yes.
Are we bullish?
Yeah, I'm bullish. I think all-time highs, dude. I'm gonna call it in February.
February. Okay, all right.
Bitcoin all-time highs in February. You heard it here first.
Just over 20 days.
Just over 20. Oh, is it a leap year? I think it is. Is there 28 days in February this year? I hope so, because we might need it. I think Q1 2025, February, March, April will be good months. May, I'm not so sure about, but I think this is one of those times where you need to let the market come to you. Sitting on your hands prevents fidgeting. And I don't want to say this is the final shakeout because that's super cliche. And we very well could go towards 88, 90K on Bitcoin. But what I will say is that I have unwavering conviction. I am disgustingly long. And I'm either going to win really big or I'll be flipping burgers.
Very interesting.
Like at this point, full conviction for what's to come. I am not positioned in any other way. And it very much is a zero or Valhalla moment.
Cool.
How about you? Conviction, Q1, yeah. How you feeling?
I actually agree. I think we could hit all-time highs this February. I think when sentiment is, you see it like this on X where everyone is so negative and we're only like such a small ways away from all-time highs. It would not take much for Bitcoin to have like a 3-4% return day and all of a sudden we're knocking on new all-time highs. I actually have, I don't want to sound like a Trump stan because I'm not, but I actually do have a bit more faith in his business savviness. I think he knows what he's doing a lot more than how the media kind of portrays him. And yeah, I think that he is going to try really hard to get rates down, to weaken the US dollar, and we're going to see a reflection and a return to risk assets. I think that'll happen this Q1. Yeah.
The infamous Trump pump,
yeah,
as it's being coined on Twitter. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the 4th episode of Exit Liquidity. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. It's been a great one. Show some support wherever you are watching this, and we will catch you next time.
Peace.